that type of education and that type of commitment on behalf of the people that are touching the product, there is no price you can put on that as an organization to assure that your products are safe.
My name is Madelyn. I am the marketing and sales manager here at EFI, and today I have the awesome privilege of talking with Amalia Zimmerman Lommel in our Fireside Chat Series. Amalia is the Director of Corporate and Social Responsibility at GoodFarms and Williamson. She has been a longtime partner of EFI and is a pioneer for social responsibility, not only for GoodFarms, but in the industry as a whole. Welcome to our fireside chat that doesn't have a fire, Amalia.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, let's just kick things off right away. Can you help us understand why GoodFarms saw the need for a social responsibility certification program, and out of all of their choices, what led them to EFI?
Right. So we saw the need for a certification that all customers would accept, because before EFI, we had many customers, and each customer was asking for their own audit, for their own criteria and their own standards. So having many farms in Mexico and in California, and then many customers, there was many audits. So obviously that created a huge financial burden, time, and very, very costly. So we were really looking for a solution to that, where all of the customers would stand behind one certification. And that was really hard to achieve because every customer was kind of doing their own thing. So when EFI came around, first of all, we chose EFI as a certification entity body because the EFI just really makes really good business sense. It brings stakeholders together, from the retailer to farmers, as well as interested organizations such as environmentalists, labor unions. But most importantly, it brings together the farm workers in these discussions. So other certifications that were readily available at the time really didn't bring in the worker voice. So we saw this as a huge advantage. And we said, it makes all the sense in the world. So we dove right in. We were actually the very first farm to become EFI certified, and it took place at one of our smaller footprints in Oxnard, California. And that is where we put all the wheels in motion and really learned what EFI was all about. And as we went out and talked to the farm workers and invited them to be a part of something really big in the agriculture industry and to make a change and a difference. A lot of people didn't understand what EFI is, because it's all about culture change, transparency, accountability, and involvement, and a buy-in from everybody. So some people didn't understand. Some managers may have been afraid a little bit of what that all meant, to give so much power to the workforce. They just didn't understand the workforce already has a lot of power. But workers didn't necessarily have that voice at the table, and with EFI they did. So that all just made a lot of sense to us. And that was the reason that we dove in headfirst with EFI and said, we're going to take on the challenge and do this.
And you went from that small footprint as your initial kind of test ground, and you've really expanded, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, today, all of our internal farms are EFI certified throughout Mexico and also in California. And then our contract growers that have been partners with us for many years, they also dove in eventually and all became EFI certified. And then even the smaller growers that are coming on board more recently, we ask them to follow the law, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, carry that kind of philosophy. But if then after working with us for a little bit, they say, they want to stay on board with us and that, we are asking them also to become EFI certified.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just having a certificate, and that's really what makes EFI so much different from any other auditing scheme or certificate. It's not about the piece of paper, the certificate that says, hey, I'm in compliance. I do everything I'm asked to. It's not about that. It's really about having a culture change where everybody in the organization has a voice and is empowered to make decisions and make changes for the betterment of the company and for themselves as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
If I was a new grower coming to you asking about EFI, what would you want me to know as someone who is EFI curious?
Yeah. So right off the bat, I would say, oh my gosh, EFI is so difficult. To obtain certification, it's not easy. It's not something that you can turn around in a couple of weeks or even a month, because sure, you can go down a checklist and comply with everything on a checklist pretty quickly. I would imagine that just about everybody or most organizations are following the law or very close to it, and maybe they just need to tweak a couple of things. So those kind of certifications you can turn around really fast and achieve. But something like EFI, it's really a holistic approach to doing business, and having everybody on your team buy in on this philosophy and everybody working together to solve issues, to solve problems before they become bigger. So yes, it's difficult, and yes, it does cost money to do, especially if you need to make some certain changes to your processes and organization. But in the end, it's a huge investment in your organization.
And from what I've seen, GoodFarms has been an amazing partner with EFI too. Can you speak a little bit to how after certification, some of the partnerships that we've done together and that you've seen maybe other organizations do, kind of that post-cert come alongside that EFI does?
Yeah, so there's a ton of support even after, well, before, during, and after certification from the EFI group. So for example, I can reach out to the EFI marketing team and ask them questions about, if somebody wants an interview with our company or something like that, and I'll reach out and I'll say, hey, could you help me vet this organization out and let me know what they're asking of us or whatnot. That's one thing. Another thing is, I'll just give you a little example. There was some unrest in Baja California right around 2015 or 16, something like that. And all the roads were closed down, and the roads were closed. Products couldn't get harvested or shipped up to California or the United States. And there was this labor situation going on. Well, we were already EFI certified in that area. We had the tools where we could reach out directly to our farm workers on the telephone. I was in San Diego, on the telephone, and just asked them what was going on. One of our customers, big customer, said, we would like to know what's going on. And I said, well, would you like to speak directly to the farm workers? They're like, heck yeah. So we got them on the phone with the EFI team down there, and they were able to have a direct communication. Now, EFI facilitates all of these conversations as well. And they also some people from EFI jumped on a plane with us and flew down with us so we could see firsthand what was going on. So EFI didn't just certify us and then leave us alone. They stand with us. We hold each other's hand. We work together continuously.
So you mentioned EFI is expensive. It's hard. And you mentioned the benefits that kind of counteract that. But the title of this chat are, what are the bottom line nuts and bolts benefits of EFI? From where you sit, what would you say those benefits are?
Right. So I did say that it's expensive and that it's difficult. When I say it's expensive, if you look at EFI as an expense that you're just going to dish out a few $1,000s and get certified, then, that's one way to look at it, but that's not what it's about. What you're really paying for is the education of your workforce. And when you have a workforce that's highly educated in what the supply chain is, what it does, how they fit into that supply chain, and that everything they touch, they are the last human touch to that product. For example, we grow strawberries. They're harvested and packaged in the field, in the open field. They go directly into a clamshell and they go to the retailer. So they understand that. They understand that hygiene and food safety is super important, so that the person that opens up that clamshell and consumes the product, so that they don't get sick.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have that understanding, all the way from the farm worker, the cold rooms, and the entire supply chain, they become very aware of the importance that they have. So that type of education and that type of commitment on behalf of the people that are touching the product, there is no price you can put on that as an organization to assure that your products are safe and that they will be enjoyed by many, many consumers. So yeah, it's costly, EFI certification, but it's really an investment, not a cost. So just having an engaged workforce is instrumental to the sustainability of any company. Giving a voice to farm workers is so important as well, because when you have a situation in the farm where things are going on, because things are going to go on, because nothing's perfect, right? We're all humans. So things are going on, everybody's quiet, everybody's just doing their job. And then things just kind of bubble up and get bigger and bigger. And then eventually you're going to have a big issue at the farm or the packing shed. But when people are empowered to raise their hand because they know that whatever's going on isn't right, or they have the tools necessary to communicate with each other and fix issues when they're small before they get bigger, that's also a huge deal. You have a better, a more engaged workforce. You have people that are on your farms that are happy, doing their work. And if they're not happy, they're telling you why they're not happy. Yeah. So that's one thing that happens after certification. You start to hear rumblings and things of people saying, for example, for us, after we had our first farm certified and we started rolling it out, I started to hear about sexual harassment complaints. I've never heard that before. Had no idea, because you could walk down the field as many times as you want, or go into the packing shed and even ask people directly, how are you doing? How are we as a company? You'll always hear, oh, good, everything's fine. So when people find their voice and they know that it's a safe place to bring up issues, and they say, you know what, I saw something happening, somebody being harassed or bullied, or I was the direct target of something like that, that's huge because now now you have information. You can work with the EFI team on that farm and resolve any issues that come up. So, all of those things are just really amazing. It's really, really different than a work environment where people are clocking in and clocking out. This is different because people are coming in, they're mindful, they know their importance, and they understand what their roles are, and what the customers require as well, as far as quality and so forth, because they know if they deliver a better quality product that arrives well, that they do the fill rate, that they deliver on time, and all of these factors, the company is able to achieve a better bottom line, and therefore is also able to pass some of that on to the workforce in the form of premiums and so forth. So it makes a financial impact to the workers as well. The other thing is that audit fatigue I was talking to you about in the very beginning. So if you have a ton of different audits that are being required by your customers, that's really straining and stressful and costly. When you have one audit that's approved by all of your customers, and it covers labor, it covers social environment, and food safety now, because now the certificate for EFI also covers food safety. It's just one certificate, and you're done, and you present that one certificate to all of your customers and they accept it. So it's really, really beneficial. And then lastly, it's attraction and retention of a workforce. You become an employer of choice if you're doing the right things, and people, word of mouth, just pass it around to the community. This is a company that's treating me well, that I take pride in what I'm doing as a farm worker or a packing house worker. And then people are just curious, and they start coming around and asking if you have a job opening. And then you continue to do the right thing and have good transparency and communication, and people tend to stay and come back season after season.
And that's no small feat in this climate of recruitment and retention.
Exactly.
So my last question, open-ended, answer it how you will. Do you have any favorite success stories from EFI? You mentioned quite a few, sexual harassment, and even just that combination of audits and lessening that burden on your staff. Do you have anything else you'd like to highlight?
Well, this is a theme that I've seen over and over again at every single EFI farm I've ever been to, is that, so there's women at the farm, and normally women will not be center front and go and raise their hand and say, I want to share, I want to talk. They'll usually sit in the back and quiet and not say anything and just listen. But after you see these women go through the educational process, and they start to gain confidence in themselves, and they break out of that shell. And sooner or later at the EFI meetings, you see women that are sharing their stories. They are asking questions. For example, we'll have a customer visit, because we do these quite often. We'll take customers to our farms, and then they will have a chance to interact directly with EFI team members on the farm. Women and men, but I'm saying about women right now, they'll say to the customer, what can I do? What can we do to get more purchase orders from you? It's amazing, right?
Amazing.
That is absolutely amazing. And I've seen it over and over again. So this just shows you that once people have received the education and they understand the supply chain, they're understanding that they can make more money if the retailer or the customer is choosing our brand over another brand. Because we're able to deliver the quality, the consistency, the fill rate, and all of that. So the person understands, hey, what do I need to do for you to buy my product? So,
Putting the power in people's hands, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I really appreciate you chatting with me and educating people who might be EFI curious, because we love to hear all the perspectives. My contact information will be on the screen after this. If you're interested in becoming EFI certified, shoot me an email and I'll get you in touch. And maybe you too can have your farm EFI certified and trained by EFI staff and have the amazing framework that Amalia has been talking about. Amalia, thanks so much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you.